Hello and welcome to Gadget Joe, and today we have some dinky little RGB gaming speakers to look at. Hello there folks, today we have some speakers in for review. They are the Marvo Scorpion SG-285 or HAVOC 20 speakers. In fact, they are named gaming speakers, and today we find out just how they perform and what exactly makes a gaming speaker. Before we dive in too far, these are very much on the budget-friendly or value range of the market, so don't be expecting heavy bass and audiophile quality from these. But they are certainly a very solid offering, considering the fact that you can pick these up for around a £15 price point, and they've got some pretty nice aesthetics to boot too. And we'll go through the specifications and then give them a test shortly. But to begin with, let's take a look at the box. It's a nice, bright, vibrant box with high quality imagery and text on all sides, with quite an aggressive gaming colour scheme of red, black and white throughout, quite fitting to the Marvo gaming range of components. On the back there is a little bit more information about the speakers in multiple languages too, with some key features highlighted in white going across the middle. Overall, it definitely looks like a much higher priced product from just the box. Inside the box is a pretty straightforward experience. You get a Marvo sticker, a little installation guide, and then the speakers themselves in clear plastic bags. There's no frills to the unboxing experience with this product. The HAVOC 20s are USB powered, meaning you can run them from any laptop, PC, projector and even phone with a USB on-the-go connector. You could even technically use a battery power bank to power them if you do so wish. The cable is around 1.4 meters in length, so it's a decent enough length to plug it into your PC or laptop and have them situated either side of your monitor. There is an inline volume control in the middle, which has a control wheel at the side and then a button in the middle. This button will then cycle through the different RGB lighting modes or to turn the lighting off altogether. The speakers themselves are pretty compact at 161mm in height by 80mm by 81mm, meaning they are small enough to hide away in a travel bag if you're using these on your holidays or for work or travelling, and they're pretty light too at around 500 grams. They are constructed using black plastic for the housing and a fine mesh front piece covering the entire frontal face. This is then covered in a fine black cotton mesh type material. There is then a ring around the outside of a grille panel that is the RGB LED lights. The lights are surprisingly nice and bright, but not too bright that they would become distracting. The lighting looks great too, and you can cycle through multiple different lighting modes from static colours to a rainbow unicorn dance party effect, and then finally being completely off if RGB lighting isn't your thing. Now that we've covered the aesthetics, let's take a little look at the specs of the speakers. They have a total combined power of 6 watts, thanks to two 2-inch drive units with an RMS of 3 watts times 2, to provide an ample amount of sound before any distortion occurs. They have a frequency range of 150Hz all the way up to 20 kHz to cover a large spectrum of accurate sound reproduction, a stereo separation of less than 30 decibels to help it distinguish between left and right accurately too. Audio is provided via the included aux connector, which is a standard 3.5mm connector. Now, whilst these specifications all make them sound fantastic on paper, it's time to put them to the test and see just how they sound in reality. They have a good, clear sound to them when playing music, even at full volume. The full volume isn't very loud though. It's certainly a significant boost over the volume compared to your laptop or phone speakers naturally, and it has more depth to it too. It's not going to fill a garden for your summer barbecue by any means unfortunately, but it will most definitely fill a room pretty easily. The bass is okay. They don't feature subwoofers in the units, so it's limited to those individual 2-inch drivers, and they sound fine. The bass has an artificial kick to it, but it does do a good job of being enough to not sound completely flat. At full volume, there is a slight bit of distortion when the songs get quite loud and it's a heavy song with lots of instruments and vocals at one time. It can sound quite fuzzy. However, with that said, it is still more than enough for what they are. The vocals sound nice and clear, and actually surprisingly better than what I would expect from speakers that cost just 15 quid. The vocals all sound nice and clean, and overall I'm very impressed. But then it's important to focus on the price point and that these are definitely value speakers. Movies sound fantastic through them. They do struggle with loud, fast, intense scenes, in terms of picking apart certain sounds, and I wouldn't recommend having them above probably 70% volume. Any higher and the speakers start to sound muffled and distorted. They definitely will be more than enough for watching movies on a laptop or computer or through a projector, but you're going to be wanting to sit pretty close to them to get the most out of a limited volume of those 2-3 watt drivers. Gameplay is where these little bad boys really excel though, in my opinion, and they sound nice and clear, even on high volumes when in gameplay. A significant improvement on the inbuilt speakers of a laptop or monitor. They work surprisingly well at distinguishing left to right, which helps in games, especially games like combat, fighting, driving, etc. for that extra competitive edge. They can get a bit overwhelmed if there's a lot happening at the same time though, but generally they work pretty damn well. I'll play a little bit of audio, royalty free of course, just to please YouTube, through them now so that you can hear them via my microphone to give you a rough idea. But bear in mind that this is a difficult test to show the true sound, as the microphones are limited and the playback is obviously going to be playing through whatever device you are watching this from. So with all that in mind, what do I think of the Marvo SG-285 or HAVOC 20s overall? I was left impressed. I admittedly put them under a lot of pressure, which might seem a little bit pointless on a set of 15 quid speakers, but I've got to test them fairly like I would a 150 or £1,500 set of speakers. They are not the loudest speakers on the market, but then I don't think anybody expects them to be at just 6 watts combined. That said, they are certainly loud enough to fill a small room. Listening to music on them is fine, and that's about it. The sound is clear and vocals sound good, but bass is lacking and they struggle at higher volumes with tinniness and distortion. Watching movies is a similar experience, so they would definitely suit a more cozy, intimate setup with you and your partner relatively close to take full advantage of them due to its struggles with picking apart complicated sounds or scenes at a higher volume. Gaming is definitely the sweet spot for me, and I was quite skeptical at the label of gaming speakers, initially thinking it was just another fad name put in front of them, but actually they are most suited for gamers. That's mostly due to the fact that when you are gaming, you are generally much closer to the speakers, so you can make the most of a limited volume delivered by them. I genuinely came into this review with these speakers with a full intention of it being a nice, simple, quick review with very little to say about them. But they surprised me with some decent sound and performance for the price point. In fact, especially for the price point. These sound like speakers that you would expect to pay easily a double or even more for. They are not without their flaws, as I've mentioned at multiple points in the video, but when you consider that you are paying £15, it's hard to grumble at them. I'm going to continue to try and look at all spectrums of value when it comes to components and peripherals, because even more so nowadays, there are so many more instances that prove you don't need to spend big bucks on big names to get quality hardware. Now, I'm not saying you should go throw out your old Bose speakers or your Pioneer speakers so that you can go and grab these. I'm just simply stating that if you want some decent little speakers for your gaming setup with a low budget, or you want some that you can take away with you, or even just want something that sounds a bit better and fuller than your laptop or phone speakers, then these are pretty much a very solid offering. The build quality isn't incredible, but then it doesn't need to be. The little RGB lights look good, and they will sit quite nicely on your desk. In fact, the ideal case scenario for these are most likely on your kid's new gaming system that you've just had them built for Christmas, especially useful for us parents in the fact that they don't get loud enough to be obnoxious. Speakers are definitely going in the right direction if this is what you can get for a value option, and I definitely give them a solid thumbs up from me. If you want to get yourself a pair, as always, I will leave a link in the description down below. Whilst you're there, do me a big favour and click like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And the more interactions and subs we get, the more content I can put out, like this and more. So with all that in mind, it's time for me to go now. I've been Gadget Joe. These have been the Marvo SG-285s, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.